Welcome to episode 39 of Hockey Nights in Vegas. We're back, boys and girls. It's the Golden Knights' sixth season. And if you know anything about the Vegas Golden Knights, it must be the Cup year. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by my host, my co-host, my guest host, and good friend, Joe Payne of the Las Vegas Advisor. Joe, it's been a long summer of watching. I can't even tell you what the hell we were watching on ESPN all summer, but it doesn't matter because hockey is back. The Golden Knights are back on the ice. It's about halfway through training camp. Tonight is game 5 of the exhibition season against the Arizona Coyotes. Let's just jump right into it. There are still some lineup battles to determine who's going to make the club. They've sent most of everybody they're going to send down to Henderson, but there's still a little bit going on. Joe, you've got Lecision, you've got Ronberg, you got Caden Korzak, you've got Paul Cotter, right? There isn't enough room for all of them on the roster this year, or at least until the injury bug hits. So come opening night on the 11th in LA, who's in a Golden Knight sweater and who's in a Henderson Silver Knight sweater?
That's a great question, and I think tonight, the last game at T-Mobile, and they'll have 2 more games after tonight's game. I think the last 2 games is what you're going to see in LA is the lineup you're going to see, and then the next 2 exhibition games, not counting tonight. I think tonight's game is probably the last hurrah for the guys who are the guys that you mentioned trying to crack this lineup. I think Paul Cotter has probably got the best shot of making a lineup. Matter of fact, I would be shocked if he's not in LA on opening night. He's more than shown enough that he can play at this level. He's got grit. He goes to the front of the net, whereas some other players haven't always had their best training camps. But Cotter, I think Cotter has made a case that he's going to be an opening night lineup. The other ones I think is just going to be based upon is Carrier going to be ready for opening night. But my prediction is Paul Cotter will be the newest Vegas Golden Knight coming. I think it's October 12th in LA.
11th, I think. But anyway,
11th, yeah, whatever.
So if Cotter has pushed his way into the lineup, that means likely one of the kids who played a bunch of games last night, Ronberg or Lecision or Amadio, one of them looks to be the odd skater out. Any thought on who that might be?
I'm going to lean towards Amadio. His training camp hasn't been the best. Lecision has been better than Amadio in training camp. But right now, because of the injury to Carrier, Amadio may stick around and might not get a trip up to Dollar Loan Center and for the Silver Knights. So that's based upon how close Carrier is to returning. From what Cassidy said yesterday in his press conference, he's back at the facility. I don't think he was on the ice yesterday. And I didn't go to practice this morning, so I don't know whether he was on the ice this morning or not.
Right.
But so the lineup is pretty much going to be the same as it was last year. I think what you're going to see is the new. I believe the newest addition is going to be Paul Cotter, and I know you've been on Cotter's train right from day one.
Listen, he's big, he's strong, he's got a little bit of grit to him, like you said. I mean, Nico Sturm is still looking for the train that ran him over in the first period of the game against the Sharks, but he really is a scorer. He's always been a scorer. And you know, one of the things that everybody had talked about while the pundits were shellacking the Golden Knights and saying they're not going to make the playoffs again and stuff like that is they're not going to have any scoring. I was on the Cotter train. Everybody else said he's not even going to make the club. Well, I'm convinced, like you are, that he's going to make the club.
I think he's earned it.
And I think that when we get to opening night, with the assumption, of course, that Carrier is not in the lineup, I think the lines look like Kessel,
Eichel,
Smith, and Riley Smith, and Stone, and
Stevenson,
Stevenson, and Marchie, and then the third line in the middle. God,
this is where
the dance comes in.
Exactly.
Does Carlson fall all the way to 4C?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to center the first line. He's not going to center the second line.
But do you think he's going to center? Let's say Amadio and Cotter as the third line, and then you have Waugh, Colasar,
and Carrier,
and then Carrier right as the fourth, as the fourth line.
And don't forget about Howden.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
So there's still some flux there. I think the top six are set. I think.
There's no. But do you find it ironic that Carlson has gone from year one being the center for the first line, now he's down to the third line? Do you find that ironic? But I don't find it ironic, but I do think, and he kind of said the other night post game that he likes the new system that they're playing. And I had said when Cassidy was named coach, I think this will be beneficial to Carlson's style of play. I believe under DeBoer, Carlson was limited into what he could do offensively. He has dropped off in goals. Obviously, we had 43 the first year.
I mean, yes, he had 43 the first year. So you ask if I'm surprised. The answer is no. The first year was the absolute aberration. We know that for sure, right? He was a fourth line guy in Columbus. He got no run whatsoever, but he's never shown anything to be a permanent 25, 30, 35 goal scorer. It happened that way. My issue with Carlson, and I'm sure that a lot of people in the know would say the same thing, he's got an awfully lofty salary.
5.9
for a number of years to be even 3C. That's incredibly I don't want to say overvalued, but his contract is much more than a 3C around the NHL.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
4C, I mean, it's frightening to think.
Yeah. But I'm going to go out on a limb here. I actually think I'm going to say that Carlson has a good year under this system. And the fact that he's playing down on the third line, if Cassidy is going to roll 4 lines, which I believe he's going to, Carlson is going to get an equal amount of time. Yeah, I mean, the only time that the first and second lines are going to be playing more if they're behind in a game. Obviously, Cassidy's going to shorten the bench and is going to be rolling out 1 and 2. But if he throughout the season is rolling 4 lines, I'm going to tell you I'm going to predict Carlson gets 22 goals this year.
Oh, come on.
Yep. That's my prediction. 22 goals as a third line center.
All right. We've made it about 6 minutes into the first episode, and we have our first pizza bet because I got the under.
Oh yeah, like what you got to lay me some odds here because how many goals did he score last year? I'm almost doubling his goals.
12.
Yeah, so I'm almost doubling his goal production.
Okay, you say 22. I'll give you the real number, 16.
Okay. Okay. Would you be okay? Here's my question: would you be happy having your third line center scoring 16 goals?
Not at 5.9 million.
I didn't ask you that question. Would you be happy if your third line center is scoring 16 goals? His contract is his contract. There's no getting away from that. But you have to understand.
Wait a minute. There is some getting away from it. When
Carlson's contract was signed, okay, Eichel and Pacioretty and Stone technically weren't here when he got his first contract, right?
Right.
Okay, so yes, he was overpaid because at that point he was the first line center, maybe second line center. When Stone got here, that misfit line dropped down to the second line,
and there was ether in the air from the first season.
They were dodging raindrops in the first season. There's no question about it, and it's created what we have here today.
Yes,
fans who are now. What the heck is wrong with this team? Because they think we're going to the Stanley Cup Finals every year.
Right.
And that's not going to happen. I mean, there's franchises that haven't been there in 40 years.
Right.
Rhymes with Toronto, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Rhymes with maple. Yeah.
Maple syrup.
I think I agree with you that Carlson will probably be better this year. And
Absolutely.
a lot of that will have to do with the fact that he's going to be playing against lesser competition as 3C.
Exactly.
Or 4C.
And I'll go one step further with you. If Cotter is going to be on the line with him, it's going to help Carlson. Because
I think that's a really good fit.
Right. And Cotter is and here's another thing I noticed, and you also noticed is in preseason, they're going to the front of the net.
Without a map.
Yeah. Like last year, it was like, was there a cone setup that they weren't allowed to skate through? Sometimes when you play pickup hockey and the ice is bad, there's a couple of cones on the ice, like don't skate over here because the ice is really soft, or there's it's preseason. I've seen a number of all the players, especially Cotter, going to the front of the net, which is, goaltenders at this level, if they see a shot, they're going to stop it. But if they don't see a shot, there's a good chance it's going to get by them or it's going to be deflected. And the Golden Knights are just horrible as far as getting to the front of the net last year. So hopefully that's something that'll change. I mean, they pretty much came close to making the playoffs, even though they went 0 for 17 in shootouts.
Ugh.
That was
horrible. Okay, so let me ask you this, since we're still on Will Carlson for another minute or so. I don't see there is a way for him to play himself up. For the last couple of years, they said Vegas's glaring deficiency was what? Down the middle.
Center, down the middle.
Right? Down the middle.
They're strong as heck down the middle.
I mean, I can't see there being a world where Stevenson gets outplayed by Carlson. Carlson seems to me that he better thrive at 3C. And I think you're right. I think Cassidy's much more structured defensive system plays very well into Carlson's hockey IQ. You know what I mean? I think it's a great fit, but in the salary cap world, and we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about Nick Hague and stuff like that.
Another thing, talking about centers, I mean, the fact that Wah is your fourth line center, that's beautiful. He's a legit third line center.
That there's going to be expectation on that line to put up points now, because Carrier had the fourth, because Carrier had a career year last year. Wah had a career year last year, and Kolasar, for as much as we tease him about having hands of stone, he can, he contributes. So up and down the lineup, when you add Phil Kessel, who will have a massive chip on his shoulder, after being stuck in Arizona for a couple of years and lost and ignored, in his own words. And you have, knock on wood, a healthy Mark Stone and a fully healthy Jack Eichel.
Yep.
For the first time. And, people, poo-pooed it. He put up 25 points in 34 games, and people are like, oh, he's never really going to be a big time. He's not worth it. I'm like, listen, you people need to shut up. Okay. Look at me in the camera. Shut up. He played the last 16 games with a broken thumb. Okay, you idiots. He was more than a point a game when he had all 10 of his fingers involved in the action. And if you watch the preseason games, there's chemistry happening with him and Kessel.
And Smith.
And Riley Smith is the perfect third for that, because he's significantly more defensively responsible than the other two chaps. Yeah. It's just fine. It's okay, but I think that line has the potential to be devastating.
Yeah. So if you watched the two goals that Eichel scored in the preseason, they were blisters. They were real snapshots that the goaltender never had a chance on. And a healthy Eichel this season, he could probably score 35 goals easily. I think 35 is a good number for Eichel. He might even score more than that.
I'm gonna say that he gets in the mid 90s
Point wise,
in points, and 35-40 and 55-60, right?
Yep.
He's going to get a ton of power play time, right? He's going to have every opportunity to fill up the net. And having a guy like Kessel, who, contrary to what everybody thinks, is also a very good passer, and playing with Riley Smith, who we know is an outstanding player all around, contrary to what some Facebook groups might say. That line, the Golden Knights have the potential to just be devastating up front.
Well, the top six forwards could probably play on the top two lines of any NHL team. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about Colorado, and you think about McKinnon and Draisaitl, and you think about Matthews and Marner in Toronto. I think that our top six matches up favorably with all of them.
And especially the fact, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but especially the fact that you and I went back and forth when Eichel first got here, prior to him going through his rehabilitation for his neck surgery. You thought that they would play Eichel and Stone together, and I was of the opinion that you're better off breaking them up. And obviously Cassidy has gone that route, and I think it gives the Golden Knights basically 1A as far as top lines when you do something like that. You got two powerful individuals in Eichel and Stone, and that's based upon, and they're both coming off injuries and surgeries. That's based upon them being fully recovered. I mean, Eichel, I believe, is he. Yeah. I mean, other than the broken, and Stone said he felt good. He just, the other night he said the game was just a little bit too fast for him because he hadn't been on the ice in a while. But if he's healthy, I think the 1 and the 1A lines are going to be real strong for the Golden Knights. I think they make the playoffs this year.
But let's not go there, because we're gonna get that toward the end.
All right.
But with all these beautiful flowers that are blooming around the Golden Knights right now, and all the optimism that we have, that's absolutely not shared by most of our friends in the press box.
No.
There is a thorn, right? So the question
there's always a thorn.
Well, this is a thorn that they might have known about, but it's a pretty big issue. I mean, Logan Thompson was outstanding in his cup of coffee at the end of last year's regular season, the 15 or 16 games, over 900 save percentage, goals against in the mid twos, something like that. But Robin Lehner, we know, is on LTIR and getting better from having both of his hips operated on. Laurent Brossoit is, heck, who knows? We don't know. They're not telling us, but we do know it was a hip as well. So the question is, can Logan Thompson carry the Vegas Golden Knights?
That's a good question, because what we saw from Hill, who came over from a trade from San Jose, he did not look good the other night. He was left out to dry a couple of times, but his rebound control was horrible against San Jose, his former team. Did they have a little bit of a book on him, so to speak? But not really, because if you think about it, the team that San Jose put on the ice Friday night, a lot of kids.
Three regulars. Sturm, Tomas Hertl, and Carlson.
And that was it.
I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and the rest were kids. But his rebound control is horrible. And as a goaltender, you want to kind of direct your rebounds into the corners. You turn your pad this way. He wasn't doing that, and he wasn't getting help either. And a lot of the shots that San Jose took wound up. He made the initial save, wound up at his feet pretty much, and that's the hardest spot for a goaltender, is pucks at your feet. You just don't see them because of the shield and the face mask and all that. So I believe the only issue that the Golden Knights have this season is in goaltending. I mean, if your starting goaltender is only making, I think, 7.5, 750,000, 760, I think Logan makes, and your backup goaltender is making like 2.7 and LB is making 2.1. So you have almost $5 million in backup goaltending, and your starting goaltender is making less than $1 million. That's probably going to be a problem, especially if you think he's got to play possibly 50 games. Now he's young, I understand that, but can he play 50 games and play at the level he played? He pretty much kept their playoff hopes alive at the tail end of the season. If it wasn't for him,
not pretty much.
Singularly.
Yeah,
I mean, he did.
Singularly.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much is in goaltending lingo. He stood on his head for the team. But they, as I said, they went 0 for 17 in shootouts. They win 1 or 2 of those shootouts. They're probably in the playoffs. I don't think they go very far because they were pretty much decimated with injury. Stone wouldn't have been ready. Eichel was playing with a broken thumb. But the goaltending, I believe, is the issue. I think Logan is good. But can he play 50 games and play at the level he played? I think that's the question.
Well, I think that the first thing I think is Logan Thompson believes he can. And the young man, and we've had a chance to talk to him a couple of times, he's supremely confident. And that's an important thing for any goalie in the NHL. He now, after having that audition basically at the end of last year, believes that he's an NHL goalie. And that's the first thing. The second thing I think is the key to Logan Thompson's success. And that's the difference in the system that Bruce Cassidy is going to employ with the Vegas Golden Knights D, which is more zone orientated, where they're not chasing people around in a man-to-man. Bruce Cassidy, as is his track history in Boston, is all about shot suppression and all about keeping the shots to the outside. We saw in the Colorado game, they had 16 shots on net and they had none in the high danger area. None is a little bit, that's not going to be every night. But the system is set up so they defend and they push everything to the boards, and then they expect the goaltender to make the save. And like you said earlier, if the goaltender can see the puck in the NHL, he should make the save.
He's stopping at 95% of the time.
Yeah. So the biggest boost, the biggest oomph that Thompson has is the way the Golden Knights are going to play in front of him. He's not going to be left out. I think the days of 45 shots against and a dozen high danger, I think those days are over. I think that the systems that they're going to play, both in the defensive zone and how they possess the puck and how they attack with the puck, everything is geared and everything is set up for Logan Thompson to be able to succeed and succeed well above average as the Golden Knights' #1 goalie. And I don't think there's any question that, barring an injury, he's in net against the opening night against.
Absolutely. And just to go back to a point that you just made on the Colorado game, how they didn't have a lot of high danger chances. Keep in mind that Colorado played nobody that night.
Yeah. No, yeah. Right. But yes, they brought the junior team.
They brought the junior team, and the Golden Knights didn't have a full lineup of their regulars, but they had a lot more of their potential starters playing where Colorado had no one playing. Right. As a matter of fact, I don't think any of the big boys have played any of the preseason games for Colorado. And and I gave you that prediction. You just can't turn this on like a switch.
No.
So my prediction is that you can bet against Colorado in their first game for 2 reasons. One is that it's historically traditional. The night that they raise the banner, the
banner.
Yeah, the team nails it in, and they haven't really played a lot, so their timing is going to be off. So you can bet against. I think they play Chicago on opening night, which is a horrible team, but I like the Blackhawks plus the pucks on opening night against Colorado. Just my prediction.
Okay. The other thorn that hasn't drawn any blood yet is 6'6", and according to sources, has put on 20 pounds of muscle in the off season, and his skating has finally apparently caught up to his size. Of course, we're talking about
Nick Hague.
restricted free agent without arbitration rights, Nick Hague.
Eddie, did he pick a wrong time to stick his nose in and pretty much say, "Hey, I'm not reporting"? I mean, he's got no arbitration rights, right?
None. He here's your number. You can put ketchup and mustard on it, but you have to eat it.
I mean, and then the Golden Knights are in a position where they don't really have a lot of money to throw around. I mean, they're butt up against the salary cap.
Well, they have $3.8 million available with the LTIRs and stuff like that. To answer your question, yeah, I think he's making a huge tactical error, because with the same head coach as last year, it wouldn't be as difficult for him to just get into game shape and join the team.
Right.
But it's like if you're a kid and you go to a new school, but you don't get into class until 2 months into school. And
you're a little bit behind.
The other classes, the rest of the class has been learning between video and on ice and more video for a long time. And Nick Hague has had access to none of that. And it's unfortunate that the young man doesn't have any arbitration rights, but all of that stuff is collectively bargained between the players and the owners and things like that. But I think that he might be getting bad counsel.
Bad advice.
Yeah, because you look at somebody like Dursey in LA who's getting 1.6 or 1.7. I don't know what the number is that Hague thinks that he's getting, but the Golden Knights are awfully solid on defense right now. If you look at McNabb and Theodore, Pietrangelo, Martinez, Whitecloud, and Hutton, with the youngsters like Caden Korzak, they have what appears to be certainly 6 starters. And the 7th, if young Mr. Korzak makes the club, is an offensive-minded defenseman. So Nick Hague, seems to be overplaying his hand at the wrong time.
At the wrong time,
to mix up a whole bunch of different poker analogies into something.
He's moving all in without the nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if he has put on that bulk and his skating has improved, those are all wonderful things. But he's going to be at minimum a month behind, right? A minimum of a month behind. And you can't just drop him in. He can't learn the new system in live games for points. Right? He's got to learn the system in practice. And we all know that once the regular season starts, the amount of off days that they have in practice time is pretty negligible.
Yeah, you hardly
they get after
practice.
it.
Yep.
So I understand that young Mr. Hague wants all the money that he thinks he's worth, but he has shown up, to a gunfight with a squirt gun.
Shea Theodore did something similar, but when Shea held out, he was playing under the same coach with the same system.
Right.
So the transition would be a lot smoother for Theodore than it will be for Hague right now.
And Theodore is an offensive-minded defenseman, and Hague is counted on to be more of and it's going to be much harder to learn the D zone structure, than the free form going down the ice toward the opposing goalie.
Talking about defenses, Whitecloud is known as a defensive defenseman, but he has shown some offensive ability. Yeah.
Yeah.
He picked up 3 assists the other night, or 4?
Yeah. Four apples, I think. Yeah. And then they told him he was the first star, and then they took it away from him.
They gave it to Stevenson, which I think was a mistake, but
Yeah, but
And he actually had an A on his jersey too.
he may turn out to be the franchise's greatest find.
Yeah.
From an undrafted guy. I mean, he's a grown ass man now. I mean, when we talk to him in the dressing room, he stands up straight. He is now a well-seasoned, well-grizzled, well-taught, well-spoken NHL player.
And he will be, probably not now, he will be a voice in that locker room very shortly. A voice.
You can tell.
If not now,
for sure.
If not now.
Yeah.
And speaking of undrafted, and I'm gonna, I know you know the answer to this question because you gave it to me in the press box the other night. But to our listeners, who is the player on the Vegas Golden Knights who was never drafted and was the lowest pick?
No, not never drafted. Which goal? Okay, folks.
Okay.
Here's a trivia question for you. Which Golden Knight on the current roster this year and played for the Golden Knights last year was the lowest draft pick in the entire organization to date? Send us your answer in the comments. If anyone
knows, I got to be honest, I didn't know the answer.
No, the only reason
when I heard the correct answer, I was like, really?
And the only reason I know is when we get the regular season game sheets, it tells you what round and what pick they were.
But I think people who don't know, when they do find out the correct answer, maybe we'll give it on the next podcast, or if somebody wants to.
Yeah, if you've got the answer,
you will be
put it in the comic box.
Completely shocked when you find out who is the lowest draft pick on the Vegas Golden Knights right now.
All right, don't give them any more hints.
I'm not going to give them any more hints.
No more hints. Answer below. But now, Joe, is the point of our show where I have to ask you if there's a little bit too much whip in your hockey stick, in the shaft of your hockey stick.
Hey, let's not be talking about my shaft, okay?
Listen, you and I are both getting up there in age, and you are. I'm, Oh, but anyway,
you're not far behind, my man.
Okay, so guys, if your hockey stick has too much whip in the shaft, we now have your answer. My very good friend, Dr. J.J. Pierce at Ageless Forever. I've known J.J. for 25 years. There aren't many people in the world that can say that I've known them for 25 years because I'm not the easiest guy to get along with. But my friend and Dr. J.J. Pierce at Ageless Forever can help men with anything that you need health-wise. He's all about making your life better, making the quality of life better, making you feel better and stronger and faster, and eliminating the whippiness in the shaft of your hockey stick, if you know what I mean. If your pool cue is a lot more like a pool noodle,
oh my God.
You should talk to Dr. Pierce at Ageless Forever. Okay? It's important. And women, don't think that you're excluded from this conversation and all these pool noodle jokes and stuff like that, because Dr. Pierce's practice has something for you. If you're feeling a little bit out of balance, if your hormones are a little bit not where they're supposed to be, if you're just feeling a little bit blah, my friend Dr. Pierce at Ageless Forever can help. You can go to www.agelessforever.net. You can fill out the form. You get a free consultation. You can tell them the guys from Hockey Nights in Vegas sent you. I guarantee you that it will be absolutely the best thing that you've ever done for yourself. And how do I guarantee it? I guarantee it because I'm putting my fat ass in the program, and Dr. Pierce is going to take me through a health journey, getting me from a pizza-eating monster that I am to be ready for bikini season.
Oh la la.
Now, I don't think that's going to be in 2023. It's going to most likely be in 2024. But as this year goes on, Dr. Pierce is going to take control of my health. He's going to work with me on my nutrition and all the things that have been bothering me as a man as I'm getting older. So you'll be able to hopefully, as these episodes go on, see my face shrinking a little bit and my energy level going up and things like that. So you'll see a graphic at the bottom of the screen here for Ageless Forever. Look them up, fill up the form, take advantage of their free consultation offer, and see what a a good man, my friend Dr. John Pierce, can do for you. So that,
Dr. Pierce.
Dr. Pierce, who
I'm
will
on
be.
I'm on my way.
Okay, so we've covered pretty much poor Mr. Haig, the goalies, the lines, who's in and who's out. Let's talk briefly about the biggest change the Golden Knights made in the offseason. As angry as the fan base was that they fired Gerard Gallant, is seemingly as happy as they were that they fired Peter DeBoer, who had an outstanding record, but also had some glaring flaws that he didn't address.
You're spot on, by the way.
I'm spot on. If you know what we're talking about, folks, we're spot on. Get it? Spot on. So they fire Peter DeBoer, and Boston, surprisingly, fired Bruce Cassidy, the coach that got him to the 7th game of the Stanley Cup final, a coach who's, if you're into the numbers, top 6 or 7 in defense, top 10 in offense, top 10 in power play. Did the right coach fall into the Golden Knights' lap, Joe?
Well, Bruce Cassidy does have, and for those who don't know, he has a little history with George McPhee. They were together in Washington for a while. So he did have an inside track. I mean, there were a couple of pretty high-profile names that were bantered about for this job. One of them was Rick Tocchet. Another one was the former Washington Capital head coach that won the Stanley Cup. Barry Trotz. Trotz pretty much pulled his hat out of the ring, and I happened to run into Rick Tocchet down at the World Series, and we got into a small conversation, and he said that he thought he had a legitimate shot to get this job, but Cassidy got the job, and I think it didn't hurt Bruce that he had history with George McPhee. I mean, we all know that we call it the
the Manitoba Mafia.
I didn't want to say that, but I guess you said it now. It
is what it is.
There's a lot of nepotism in hockey, and if you have history going down or with someone, that pretty much coaches get recycled here, and they really get recycled if the current general manager or president of hockey operations has an existing relationship with you. And I think Cassidy. That didn't hurt Cassidy in getting the job. I think Tocchet would have been a good fit here too. I like his style of play. I mean, he did. If you think about the team he had in Arizona, he did pretty good with a team that was
awful.
Wasn't very talented.
Awful.
Wasn't very talented. So I think, but nothing against Bruce Cassidy. I think he's shown he's a winning coach, and I think the Golden Knights are going to be better for it. I think you already see. The tenacity that they're playing with, they're being much more aggressive. And I hate to repeat myself, but they're going to the front of the net. The power play looks a lot better than it did, but then again, the ball was set very low on the power play. And what I do like, and I'm not sure it's going to happen a lot, I don't see them passing how you and I go crazy on the power play where they skate up to across the red line and throw the puck back all the way back in their defensive zone. Now, a couple of power plays that we watched at T-Mobile and they're on TV, we don't see much of that happening. Now, whether that's just something they're experimenting with, are they going to go back to it? Because we do notice a copycat league. One team does something, they like what they see, other teams pick it up, and then the next thing you know, you got 32 teams doing the same thing. You're not fooling anyone by throwing the puck back. As a matter of fact, you're not only wasting time, but you're giving up ice that you've already advanced on by throwing the puck back. Now you have to re-advance it. So I think the move to Cassidy was good. I think he had like 51 wins last year with the Boston Bruins, which was the most wins he's ever had as a coach. Bruins do have a pretty good team, though. They got probably the best power play unit in the entire league and a number one line. But I think Cassidy is a good fit. I think the Knights will do well with him. But you know what? You got to play 60 minutes and you got to get the puck in the net. So we'll see what happens.
I think the one thing that most Golden Knight fans probably wouldn't be aware of unless they were like full-time hockey junkies like us, is the Boston Bruins did all that with what? A young goalie, a young, inexperienced goalie. While Tuukka Rask was out rehabbing his hip, this young fella, Jeremy Swayman, came on and took the job. And Bruce Cassidy's system made him a pretty good goalie. He had a pretty solid, for a young goalie who hadn't had a cup of coffee, right, to be thrust into the spotlight in a very tough hockey market in Boston, Cassidy's system makes Swayman a pretty good goaltender. And just to wrap that around, that's where I was sort of going when it came to talking about why I think Logan Thompson is going to be very, very good. I don't think he's going to contend for the Vezina or anything crazy that, but I see his save percentage 910, 912-ish. And the way they suppress shots, his goals against should be 2.25-ish, something like that. I think that the things that the Golden Knight fans are going to have to get used to, that they're going to find a very difficult bite to swallow, is the days of the 6-5 games against St. Louis, right? Stuff like that. Those games are over. This team is going to be a much more disciplined, much more controlled hockey team, and they're going to win a boatload of games 3-1.
Okay, that's what I think. I have a question for you. If you, in fact, think that Logan Thompson is going to put up a goals against average in the area of 2.2, 2.25, do the Golden Knights contend for the Pacific Division Championship?
Well, that's the perfect segue to us talking about predictions. Even though we said we weren't, we should. I don't think they're going to contend for the division. I think that, and I'm surprised that I'm saying this, that Calgary lost Tkachuk and Johnny Hockey, and they got better. I think that they are a better team now than they were last year. They still have goaltending questions, but out from the goalie, the people they picked up, Huberdeau and others, I think that they're the overwhelming favorite to win the division, and I think they probably will. I think that the Golden Knights will be in a horse race with the Kings and the Oilers for second and third.
Wow. So in other words, it's not going to be easy this year. Are we looking at another right down to the wire for a playoff spot? No.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't want to say
as 2 or 3 or as a wild card.
2 or 3.
So you think because Edmonton, LA has gotten better and Edmonton's gotten better.
But Edmonton is still Edmonton. They still fall off the ledge once you get past McDavid and Draisaitl. They did re-sign Cancer for 4 years, and who knows what negative effect that's going to have in the locker room. But it will, because he's proven that everywhere he's been Cancer.
He had an incredible playoff.
He did.
He had an incredible playoff.
I
don't like the guy. I don't like the guy personally.
This is not a condemnation of him as a hockey player.
Right.
The condemnation is of him as a human.
Right.
Because he's a piece of shit as a human, and he's wrecked locker rooms everywhere he goes. So some of that could leak in, and the Kings did get better for sure. But I think it's Calgary and then everybody else. So I would say if we'll go on prediction, and I'll make the same prediction that I made when we were talking about stuff in the press box. I think the Golden Knights come second in the Pacific with 102 points, something like that, 101, 102, somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay. I think they struggle to make the playoffs this year, only because I'm not certain about the goaltending. I like your 2.25 goals against average for Logan Thompson, but can he do that playing 50 games or more? I don't know. And like I said, I think Calgary, I agree with you. Calgary's probably the cream of the crop. And I think Edmonton and LA are 2-3, and the Golden Knights may make the playoffs. I think they make the playoffs, but I think they make it as a wild card. which is not real good because then I got to play the division leader.
Well, if they make it as 2-3, if they make it as a wild card, I think that's going to be harder just with the amount of teams that are going to come out of the Central. So I think
Right.
if they're going to make the playoffs, they have to make it through their division.
Yes,
There's a
because there might not be a wild card out of the Pacific.
Right. It very easily could be 5 teams out of the Central.
Right.
Nashville, Colorado,
Right.
St.
The
Louis.
two, similar to what happened last year.
Right. So I think that if they're going to get to the dance, and I do believe that they're going to get to the dance, all of this naysaying and all of this, woe is me, the sky is falling. And, I don't buy any of that. They're not a bad hockey club. They weren't a bad hockey club last year. They were decimated by injuries, 500 plus man games, and still nearly got, if they could have put 2 pucks in the net, they would have made the playoffs. You're correct in saying they wouldn't have gone anywhere in the playoffs, but they would have got to the playoffs. This year, the chances of that injury bug coming back, I mean, just look at Pacioretty. You don't need any more of an example than that. But if Stone stays healthy, his will and those people, that team as constructed, I think can finish second in the division, if not third, and make the playoffs.
I mean, I like your positivity, but I think it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle to get into third place. That's my opinion. They'll be fighting all year.
So you think that Edmonton and Los Angeles are solidly better clubs than the Golden Knights?
Edmonton is. They have just a juggernaut of scoring. And if, like you said, if Kane plays to his potential and he doesn't become the cancer that he has been in every team that he's been with, starting all the way with the Atlantic Trashers and then Buffalo and then San Jose. I mean, he's just, if he plays, if he just puts his head into the game, Edmonton is going to be a hard out this year. If that's the question.
That's the question. If. What's that old saying?
If the Queen had
if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. But
I was going to say if the Queen had balls, she'd be king.
Same thing.
But the Queen is dead, so she can't have balls.
It is, and long live that Alfred E. Newman-looking fellow. That's
all right.
King now. But hey, it's our first episode of the 6th season in the Golden Knights history. We hadn't talked to each other and talked hockey in months, so we ran a little long, but we'll be better next time. Folks, we're going to be coming back to you every week. We're going to try and get it out to you every Wednesday, but a lot of that will be game day permitting. But you can look for solid hockey content from Joe and I every week of the NHL season. We have some friends that will be joining us, special guests, some big-time surprises, and lots of fun things in store. So as you've seen throughout the podcast, there are like buttons and subscribe buttons and stuff like that. Go ahead and hit those. Leave your comments in the box. We like to hear criticism. We like to hear positive reviews. Just tell us what you think. And who knows, there might actually be a Facebook Live podcast. And Joe and I might go out to dinner and do a podcast while we're doing an Italian dinner. So we have lots of stuff in store for you this year. Thanks as always for watching, and we will see you next week.